Alright, so my name is Amber Singleton, and February 10th of 2019, I was raped by Brent Joyner. So, at the time, I was 21 years old, and it was the first rape that I ever reported. So I'm just going to talk you through what happened, and then I'm going to dive into why I wanted to make this video. So, in the early morning of February 10th of 2019, I woke up and Brent was having sex with me. I was in and out of consciousness at the time, and when I was fully conscious, I left his house and went home. The very next day, after I went home, I texted my friends. After I went home, I texted him saying what he did was basically rape. And he admitted to what he did, and that was it. So the next day, I go to the police station with one of my friends, and that experience was one of the worst experiences of my life. I went directly to, first of all, I had to Google how to report rape, because even though it was not my first time being raped, this was my first time reporting the rape. So I went to the police, and I went to the police station, and when I got to the police station, I was addressed by a lady cop, and she said, what are you here for? I said, I'm here to report an assault. What type of assault? A rape. She asked me, are you the one that was raped? Still, while we're in I wasn't even in the lobby. This is at the checkpoint, like the security checkpoint. And I was like, yes, I am. I guess I am the victim that was raped. And she says, well, you need to go to the hospital, and then the police will meet you there. And I was just like, okay. And that was the end of our conversation. I turned around, and she buzzed me out. So at that point, I don't know. Well, I do know. I really did just want some comfort from someone other than like my friend, just to know that like this was real and I'm supported, and I'm not just in my head thinking that like this is just too much and overwhelming. I wanted my fears to be validated, and I wanted to be comforted. She failed me. So, I go back in the car, and I was like, wow, like, do I even want to go to the hospital? Like, I'm not injured. I'm not injured. Why do I need to go to the hospital? So, But I guess that was protocol. That's what I was told. So I ended up going to the emergency room. In the emergency room, I had to go in there just like any other patient. It's not like I could have gone in. Yeah, I was in there like any other patient. So basically, I go to the front desk. They ask what I'm here for. I say rape. I had to like fill it out on the paper. I say I was assaulted, and yeah, and then I'm sitting. So I was sent to I was checked in, or what is it? Yeah, checked out of the hospital. Yeah, I was checked into the hospital, and yeah, so a rape counselor nurse comes in, and she's very sweet, and she basically explains to me the process of all the medications that I have to take, like a Plan B, like things that would prevent me from getting sexually transmitted diseases, and the shots and stuff that I would have to basically take was protocols. So I was like, okay. So then the police officer comes, and I tell him what happens. Okay, cool. They take a report. Then that's that. Then I had to. Then the nurse tells me that I have to go to another hospital to do a rape kit. A rape kit is basically a medical examination that will collect evidence, DNA, etc. You know, all that good stuff. So I knew I took a shower. I took a shower, and also I knew that the person. And also I knew Brent did wear a condom because I saw the condom wrappers. Yeah, so I was like, there's not really going to be a lot of like, whatever. And plus, it was a whole ass Monday. Like, I have things to do. Like, I have work in a few hours. Like, I got up already early to go here. So I decided not to do the rape kit. So that was the end of that day. A couple of days later, I get a call from it was a like support hotline, basically, where they had got my information from the hospital, knew I was assaulted, and basically they were assigning me a caseworker to basically help me through the process, like mentally. So I was talking to her, and she called me. I was at work. I was pretty thrown off. And then, she's basically like, you don't want to talk to too many people about this because, it is a private matter. Which actually, that comment really threw me off, and it made me feel even more isolated and alone. Like, okay, well, I can't talk to anybody about it. Like, okay. So basically, yeah. So then I walked through the process of what happened again with her, and yeah. So then I get a call from the detective. Maybe I would say a week later, I was set an appointment to come in and speak to a detective. And yeah, I had to leave work early, go see this detective, all the way in a city that I didn't live in. So I had to drive about an hour to go see this detective, and then yes, and this is when I met Detective Audie. So I was at the Detroit Police Headquarters, and I had met Detective Audie and basically wrote my statement. So I actually did not write my statement. He basically listened to what I said and, wrote my words pretty much. So yeah, he asked me questions and then wrote my answers down that I was saying. Yeah, of course they ask, oh, were you intoxicated? All of this, which I answered truthfully, and then I show him, the conversation between me and Brent where he admitted that the situation did take place, and sent the detective screenshots, gave him witness phone numbers, addresses, everything. Boom. So, yes. So, after all of that, that was the first and last time I ever saw Detective Audie again. He contacted me maybe a couple weeks after, just to because one of the witnesses had not been contacted, and I was kind of wondering, why haven't you spoken to her? And he contacted me saying, no, the phone, she didn't answer. I was like, okay, well, now she's expecting your call. You could talk to her. Then he spoke to my friend, and then he spoke to me again about 2 weeks later, and he said that I asked how the investigation was going, and then he says, well, your friend said that you were kind of iffy about pressing charges, so I wasn't sure if I should move forward. And I was just like, okay, well, why didn't you call me and ask, but I wasn't about to argue. I was just like, okay, well, I do want to move forward. I do want to move forward. Let's do this. And I asked him what the next steps were. He said the next steps were him collecting evidence. I gave him all the evidence, speaking to more witnesses, and taking the charges to the prosecutor to see what Brent could actually be charged for. I was like, okay. So, yeah, so around this time, I'm also transitioning to live in California. So I contacted Detective Audie to, just to get a timeline of what will really be going on, so I could know if I would have to be back and forth from California, or should I postpone my move, or any, just a timeline, so, I could plan accordingly. I left messages on his phone, not telling him that I was moving or anything, just saying, hey, I want an update, what's going on. And then, I just called and let him know. No answer. So probably about a month to me living in LA, I call again. And I moved to California in April. So within those 2 months of me still being in Detroit, there wasn't much progression in my case, which was understandable because, it's not like Law and Order. It doesn't happen in a few days. I understood that. So, yeah. But back to August, I still haven't heard anything. And, I reach out, have left messages, still no answer, still no feedback, haven't heard absolutely anything from the Detroit Police Department. And so that's kind of where the story had paused, because I don't want to say end, because my story isn't over. This is something that happened to me, and I want it to be addressed. And that leads me into why I made this video. It's like a lot of the times, especially with the Me Too movement, people are like, why didn't you speak up when it happened? Why didn't you report? And this is just a very common situation. A lot of people actually do report, and a lot of people are ignored. And I really want to bring awareness to that. Like, you know, it's not cool. And I want to be heard. And it took me a long time to understand why I wanted to press charges or why I decided to actually report. And it's just like, my whole point in reaching out was to be heard, to be acknowledged that this happened to me. And being ignored by the police department, which is there to protect or prevent these things from happening, isn't surprising to a certain level, because my distrust for the police is already present regardless of my assault. But I'm lucky enough to have had a support system that did validate me and did support me through the aftermath of that trauma, because I did go through depression and post-traumatic stress and anxiety, and it was very traumatic experience. Like, sexual assault, rape, it's not something that just because it's not reported or acknowledged mainstream, or, you know, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect a person. I just want to acknowledge that people that share this situation, that they're not alone, and it happens way too often, and whatever system is set up now isn't working, and it needs to change, because there's no way that somebody who so boldly raped me, admitted to it, is still just walking around all free. That's really what it is. Like, had to take no accountability for their actions. And that's a problem, because somebody who commits that type of crime should definitely be held accountable for their actions, and victims should have a voice to speak very loudly what happened to them, and be supported and be validated, because this is not something that's taboo. And it's not something that's new. It's not something that just came up with the Me Too movement. It's something that has been happening for generations and generations and generations and generations. This has been happening, and whatever we're doing is allowing it to continue happening, and it's not okay. And don't look at women and ask us, well, what do you want us to do? How do you want us to stop these abusers? Look at the people that are abusing and say, why are you abusing? How to stop that from even being in your thought pattern to make you think that this is something that you should be able to do so boldly, or something that you are not aware that you're doing. So many excuses come from abusers, and they're constantly validated by society, and that's why abusers continue to use them. And I don't think that change starts with the justice system. I think change starts with our societal norms. Change starts with the way society reacts and protects and supports abusers compared to how they do the same or lack thereof with people who are victims of sexual abuse. And it took me I'm 22, the first time I was ever abused sexually. I was 12, so I would say it took me 10 years to put those words together, because even on a sister to sister level, when I'm talking to one of my girls about sexual trauma, it's hard to even say these words because you just want to just give all the love and support that you need to that person. It's hard to, want to be like, well, this is how we need to change the world, because girl, it's heavy. Holding that trauma, carrying that trauma is heavy. And a lot of people don't know how to work through it. And a lot of people don't have the tools to work through it. And that needs to change. And it starts with you. And it starts with me. And it starts with our community. Because fuck the police. Period.